Welcome to episode 61 of the 301 show. We've got a great show on tap for you here today. The Lynx have received some unfortunate news about one of their, if not their best player on the roster, as well as the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards missed a game or missed the tip-off for a game for a very particular reason. The Vikings have a mock draft season coming up here as they get prepared for the 2026 NFL draft. The Twins fans have spoken very loudly and very clearly about the state of the team, or at least where they think the state of the team is currently, as well as the Wild and the Frost are coming to the ends of their respective seasons and as they chase for their respective cups. All of that and more here on episode 61 of the 301 show.
From the land of 10,000 lakes and just as many heartaches, welcome to the 301 show. We're here to celebrate, commiserate, and maybe, just maybe, see a Minnesota team win it all. Whether you're dreaming of a Vikings Super Bowl, reliving the glory days of the Twins, or still recovering from the Timberwolves roller coaster, we've got you covered. This is the 301 show, where the North remembers and the passion never fades.
All right, like this video if you like videos like this and want more content. If you do want more content like this, as well as interviews with other Minnesota athletes and coaches and other media members, you can subscribe to the channel for content like that and more. If you agree or disagree with me, comment down below where you do. All of those things help the channel out the most and push it out to other people to have them watch these videos as well. Let's get into this one. All right, our first team segment of this episode is the Wolves Den. I've got two big pieces of news to go over here. I guess one is significantly bigger than the other. We'll start with the Timberwolves. They are now 45-28 on the season. They're 25-13 at home, 20-15 on the road. They are 5th in the Western Conference. They are tied for 8th in the NBA. They are have 118 points for per game. They have 114.4 points against per game. They played 2 games in the since the last episode. They lost to the Detroit Pistons, which again, the Pistons this year are a very, very good team. It is a team that you could possibly see in the NBA Finals at the end of the season, out of the Eastern Conference. They then traveled to Dallas to take on the Cooper Flag and the Dallas Mavericks. The Wolves won that one 124-94. If we look ahead here, they've got 4 games in the next week or so. They go to Detroit to play the Pistons at 6 p.m. on Thursday, April 2nd, then to Philadelphia at 6 p.m. on Friday, April 3rd. And then they play the Charlotte Hornets at home at 6 p.m. on Sunday, April 5th, Easter. And then they go to Indiana at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, April 7th. So busy week this week. Again, there's at very least 3 of the next 4 teams you should probably beat. And I think the Wolves, at least roster-wise, are good enough to beat the Detroit Pistons. I think that they are good enough for that. So I think they could. There is a chance that they could win all 4 of their next games here. I think they should probably win at least 3 of the next 4. And so the Wolves here are sitting in a spot where they need to get to 50 plus wins if they want to keep, if they want to climb up into a spot where they're in the top, or in the top four and hosting the first round of the playoffs. There is some discussion because it looks like the top two seeds are going to be OKC and San Antonio. It looks like the Lakers are going to get the 3 seed this year, and then the 4, 5, and 6 seeds are up for grabs at this point between Houston, Denver, and Minnesota are the 3 teams that look like they're going to be in those 3, but could be in basically any order of those 3 at this point. There is some discussion here too on which side of the bracket you want to be on. You might actually want to not have home court advantage and be able to get down to the 6th seed, and then you play the Lakers. You play the Lakers in the first round, and avoid the Nuggets in the first round. But then you're on San Antonio's side of the bracket instead of Oklahoma City. And I think at this point, I don't think it fully matters. You're going to have to get through them or a team that beat San Antonio or OKC to get to the NBA Finals. And I just don't think that part fully matters. Both San Antonio and OKC are very, very good teams. And I think that it'll be tough no matter who you play in that sense. Obviously, the Wolves had a fantastic series against Denver in the second round a few years ago. They had, they kind of curb stomped the Lakers last year in the first round. And the Mavericks aren't in it. The Suns are the 7 seed. So the 4 teams that they have, they're like the few teams here that they've played in the last couple years in the playoffs are some of them are now really, really bad. One of them is really, really good in OKC still. They obviously played in the conference finals last year, and the Thunder ended up going on to win the entire thing and win the title. But I think at this point to me, the biggest thing that they should be worried about is trying to get home court advantage. I think that is more important than trying to avoid. And excuse me, I didn't update there. I'm looking at it now. They're actually 46 and 29. My notes were wrong here. 46 and 29 on the season. 25 and 14 at home. 21 and 15 on the road. But I think having a home court advantage is more important to this team than trying to avoid OKC. Because again, you're probably going to have to play them anyways. And so I think that just having a home court advantage against the Lakers or against the Nuggets or against, I don't think there is still a chance they could get up to the 3 seed. They're only 3.5 games back from the Lakers in the 3 seed. They're 11.5 back from San Antonio in the 2 seed. So I really think it's OKC and San Antonio are the only ones that can get the top 2 seeds. But I think that they just need to get home court at least for one round. I think that is more important because they are, they're 11 games above 500 at home at 25 and 14 versus only being 6 games above 500 on the road. Now, obviously, both of them, they have a positive record, but if you're that much better at home, then I think they should be going for home court advantage here in for as many rounds as they can get it. And maybe that is, no matter where they land, maybe that is only the first round at most, that they get home court advantage. But I still think that would be advantageous for the Wolves at this point. Now, the less important of the news here, we've got the two pieces of news. The less important one is for the Wolves here, and it's more just kind of a funny tidbit, but Anthony Edwards did miss the tip-off against the Mavericks because he had to use the restroom, and he needed to do that before the game started. He ended up not playing super well against the Mavericks in that game. I believe that was his first game back at that point from his leg injury. It was, and he only put up 17 points in 23. He only played 23 minutes to that game. So per minute played, it did pretty well, but again, just didn't play that much. Just seemed to be more of like a load management at that point for him coming back from the injury. Now they ended up winning by 30 points, so it didn't really matter too. What matters the most is that they won the game. We'll move to the Lynx here. The big piece of news comes via Andrew Dukowitz on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And his tweet was, "Unfortunate Lynx news. Napheesa Collier was seen at her annual Hopkins basketball camp using a leg scooter and a cast on her left leg. I did check with the Lynx. They had no comment at this time. Until I hear more, I'm staying positive." So this, she obviously had the surgery this offseason to for her leg, and it seemingly, as of right now, the injury recovery timeline is delayed of what it probably should be. But again, the Lynx haven't officially said anything, so she could be back. This might just be a precautionary measure that the Lynx are taking. Obviously, Napheesa Collier is arguably the best player in the WNBA. She's I believe the best player, but I think unanimously is a top 3 to 5 player in the entirety of the league. So it would be a big blow if they were out, if they were without her for some amount of time. I think that the Lynx are still a good team without her, but I think that just adding her only helps, and only massively helps this team, just because she is that good. So we'll keep up with that and seeing if she will continue to progress in her injury here. As for predictions, we've got a few predictions on the board here. I did not have any come off the board. The Wolves Den here stays at 48 out of 148. Hold on one second. Let me do a live behind the scenes production. I believe I got this wrong here, or didn't fully download what I needed to. I did have one come off the board. I do not have a graphic for it, unfortunately. I did have one prediction come off the board here. The Wolves Den, I said that Ant scores 35 plus in his first game back. He did not do that, so that brings it to 48 out of 148 for 32%. The Wolves Den is the third place segment for the correct percentage here. As for the three coming on the board at this point, I said Napheesa Collier will miss the first 5 games of the regular season. So this is me trying to be take some sort of positive out of a negative situation if it does happen, and I'll be happy either way. Either I get the prediction correct or she won't be out for that long. Second prediction is that the Wolves will win 3 out of their next 4 games, and that in the next 4 games, Ant drops 40 plus at least once in one of the next 4 games. All right, moving on to the Nordic Report now. Got a couple of things to go over here. It is mock draft season, so we'll go over a mock draft, a 7-round mock draft here for the Vikings. Every pick that ESPN's Matt Miller projects the Vikings to make here, and we've got 2 more pieces of news to go over. But let's start with the mock draft. So again, ESPN's Matt Miller did an NFL 7-round mock draft, and he obviously did it for every team. So we'll go over the Vikings in the we'll go over just the Vikings picks here. The first round at pick 18 that he had the Vikings taking Dylan Thieneman, the safety out of Oregon. I have seen him mocked to the Vikings probably the most of any mock draft that I have seen. So with the first round pick, the 18th overall pick, the Vikings will be drafting the safety out of Oregon, Dylan Thieneman. In the second round, the 49th overall pick, he has the Vikings taking Jadarian Price, the running back out of Notre Dame. With the third round pick, 82nd overall, he has the Vikings taking Auburn center Connor Lew. And then a few picks later for the comp pick, I believe they got for Sam Darnold leaving last offseason. It's the third round, 97th overall. He has them taking a wide receiver out of Georgia State, Ted Hurst. So they've gone safety, running back, center, wide receiver, and then they don't have a 4th round pick. They do have a 5th round pick, which is 163rd overall. This is via the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe it was the Sam Howell. They got a 5th round pick for Sam Howell, I believe, and he has the Vikings drafting Scooby Williams, a linebacker out of Texas A&M, with the 6th round pick, 196th overall, via the Indianapolis Colts. He has the Vikings taking John Michael Gillenborg, tight end out of Wyoming. So again, either side of the ball there, linebacker and then tight end. They'll go back to linebacker for their next pick. They've got 3 picks within a 10-pick span here in the 7th round. The 234th overall pick, he has them taking Red Murdoch, linebacker out of Buffalo. Then 235th overall via the Carolina Panthers, he has them taking Andre Fuller, the cornerback out of Toledo. And then 244th overall, still in the 7th round via the Houston Texans, he has them taking Logan Taylor, the offensive tackle out of Boston College. So those are the, you can look up Matt Miller mock draft if you want to see the full mock draft to where every team or his mock picks are going in the 2026 draft. The 2 other reports here for the Vikings. The first one is Jordan Addison. This is via Kevin Seifert. Jordan Addison, it will be have his 5th year option exercised. Rob Brzezinski confirmed that. via Kevin Seifert. So that means in 2026, Jordan Addison will be making $2.6 million, and he'll be making $18 million in 2027, which I believe that this is a good deal. I don't think that this was going to be really in question, whether he's going to get the 5th-year option picked up or not. I think the bigger question is, will he actually play the 5th-year option, or will he get an extension off of that 5th-year option that's not just, that's an actual extension and not an option off of a rookie scale contract. So that's the bigger thing, and I think this is a big if based off of his track record at this point. I think that if he can stay out of trouble, whether that's legal trouble or team trouble, like he went missing in Europe, in London for a night, and nobody knew where he was, so he got suspended for a quarter in that game against the Browns in London. If he doesn't get into trouble like that, that's kind of the catch-22 of it, is if he does get in trouble again, the Vikings probably want to trade him. But on the other hand, his trade value is going to be a lot lower than it would be if he doesn't get in trouble. But if he doesn't get in trouble, the Vikings probably don't want to trade him, because he is on the field, he is a fantastic wide receiver too. And I think that he just, is a hothead at some points and can just be, stupid at some points off the field. He's still a kid. And so I think he can, basically make himself, look stupid at some points. And it's because he actually is acting stupid. And I think if he can stay out of trouble, I think he either will get a massive haul for the Vikings in a trade, or he'll actually get an extension, where he'll, it'll be a lot bigger for him too if he stays out of trouble. That money value will be a lot bit more than what he wants. It'll be closer to what he wants. So yeah, we do have a couple of updates on the general manager search, as well as a quote from Mark. A couple of quotes from Mark Wilf here, as well as one on interim GM Rob Brzezinski here. So the article here says that Mark Wilf expects a small group to advise him and his family to help make the decision on who the next general manager is going to be. So they're going to bring in like an advisor group. He also said that head coach Kevin O'Connell and COO Andrew Miller will also have some input on the decision as well. He said that they won't use a firm or formal consultant, but will contact with a service that will help whittle down the list of candidates. Now, I'm sure they'll want to be the ones that make the final decision on it. So they're the ones, they're not going to just say, consultants, you come in and make the decision. I'm sure they'll want someone that can work with KOC too. But also, if KOC somehow gets fired after this upcoming season, then I'm sure they'll want to have someone that can find his own head coach as well. So it's definitely a balancing act at this point for them to find their general manager at this point. So Mark Wilf also spoke to Kevin Seifert on Rob Brzezinski. And his quote was, he has done an outstanding job in terms of in the building, building consensus and strategy. So sounds like he's doing a good job with the front office on bringing together a roster for 2026. One second here. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But yeah, Rob Brzezinski, he's been in the Vikings organization as the cap guy since I believe it was 1999. So he's gone through multiple head coach and front office change-ups. He's gone through an ownership change, and he's so good at his job that he has held it through all of that since 1999. So, yeah, the Vikings seem to be lucky to have him at this point too. So he could be an option for the GM spot. He also, I could see it being him holding just the interim GM title, and then they find a new GM and he goes back to his job as the capologist, basically, and the cap guru in the front office. Did not have any predictions come off the board for the Nordic Report. That means the Nordic Report stays at 50 correct out of 146 total predicted for 34%. 3 coming on the board. It'll be season-long predictions here. I said Justin Jefferson hits at least 1,500 receiving yards in 2026. TJ Hawkinson goes over 900 receiving yards in 2026. And Kyler Murray throws for 4,000 plus yards in 2026. All right, moving on now to the Rinkside Rundown here. The Wild sit with a record of 41, 21, and 12 on the year. They have 94 points. They are third in the Central Division. They are third in the Western Conference. They have 3.22 goals for per game, which is 12th in the league. They have a 2.85 goals against per game average. That's 5th in the NHL. They have 8 shutouts on the year. That's 2nd. And again, only the New York Islanders. The power play is sitting at 25% on the year. That is 3rd in the NHL. The penalty kill is up to 17th on the year. It's 78.8%. The face-offs, they're still 30th in the NHL at 46.8%. Shots per game is 29.4. That's 7th in the NHL. Shots against per game is 26th at 29.6. Philip Gustafsson is 26, 13, and 6 on the year. He has a .909 save percentage. That's tied for 12th. The goals against average is 2.57. That's 9th in the NHL. And he is tied for 3rd with 4 shutouts on the season. Jesper Wallstedt is 15, 8, and 6 on the year. He has a .912 save percentage. That's tied for 2nd. He has a .273 goals against average. That's tied for 24th. He has 4 shutouts on the year, and that's tied for 3rd as well with the Gus Bus. If we look back, they played 1 game since last week's episode. That was a 6-3 loss to the Boston Bruins in Boston. They play 4 games in the next week. They play on Thursday, April 2nd at 7 p.m. They are hosting the Vancouver Canucks. They then play on Saturday, April 4th in Ottawa against the Senators at noon. And then they play in Detroit against the Red Wings at noon on Sunday, April 5th, before they come back home to take on the Seattle Kraken at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, April 7th. The Wild have been struggling a lot as of late, as they did lose to the Boston Bruins. The Bruins are a pretty good team, so like they're at least a wild card team in the Eastern Conference, which again, the wild card team in the Western Conference are a lot worse than the Eastern Conference, but that's still you're a top 3 team in the Western Conference. You're I think it's a top 7 team now in the entire NHL. It was embarrassing that they were down 3-0. They were down, I think, 4-1, came back and made it 4-3 before they lost 6-3. And Brock Faber did talk about this too, just the struggles that they've had. And his quote in The Athletic here was, "We're one of the best teams in the league. We're one of the most consistent teams in the league. This is a stretch where things aren't going our way, but we're not playing as good as we are capable. That's part of it. We're just trying to get the clinched next to our name, and from there build our way up to real playoff style hockey, and ramp up for who knows who we're playing. Most likely Dallas, which again, it is most likely Dallas that they're going to be playing in the first round. And it'll likely be Dallas on the road as the road team. I think that Faber is looking at this as a like we need to play better, and they do need to play better in the play for the playoffs. They do need to play better than they are playing right now, and the way they play right now, they're going to be lucky to get a game against the Dallas Stars. They need to go back to how they were playing around the Olympics and right before the Olympics, and they need to be going back to that level of play, because that felt like actual high stakes hockey, and it felt like playoff level hockey at that point. I think they need to get back to that level of consistency and that level of actual good play at that point. And that's when everything was clicking at once. And they were, they were getting goaltending. They were getting goal scoring. They were getting defenders stepping up both defensively and offensively. And everything was just going their way. From basically the holidays until the Olympics. And that was, obviously adding Quinn Hughes into a team that was playing pretty well, before the break and before the holiday break, adding, someone, of his caliber definitely helps elevate a team like that. And they need to get back to that. They need to get back to just doing everything, 99% correct and above. And I feel like they're 90% there. And there's other teams that, again, in hockey, like any team can beat any team on any given night is the thing. And part of it comes down to, like, you need to be playing well. And if you play well, at least you have a chance to win. And you're not going to win every game if you're playing well, but you at least have a chance to win. If you're not playing well, the only games you're gonna win are against other teams not playing well. And you're not gonna beat a team like that. Dallas is good enough to where they are going to beat you if you continue to play like this. And like Faber said, I do think that they are good enough to play at a high caliber and play at a playoff level. They're good enough to play at a level where they can go on a deep playoff run. And I truly believe that. I think we have seen that this season at some points, and they just need to get back to that right now. Like they're different than the Wolves, I think. Where the Wolves, I just worry about them putting it together at all on like an everyday basis. The Wild, they've proven that they can do it on an everyday basis, and they can do it for the length of a playoff run, and they have proven that they can do that, and it's more of a question of if they can get back to that is the question. So I think that they can. I think that they will end up getting back there at some point. But I think that they will get back to that style and level of play, and when they go in to face Dallas in the first round, and then if they can beat Dallas, Colorado in the second round, and to make it to the conference final, it is an absolute gauntlet that they have to run through the playoffs. But again, like the Wolves, that sometimes happens. Like, you're going to have to get through those teams, those better teams, to get to win a Stanley Cup. And I think that they're plenty capable of doing that. And a team that I think we've seen kind of that where they have to they have to kind of claw their way into the playoffs, and then they ramp it up in the playoffs, are the Frost. And we've seen that the last couple of years, where I feel like they've struggled in the last month or two of the season, and they're scratching and clawing their way for one of the last playoff spots, and they end up getting the last or the second to last playoff spot, but they just know how to win in the playoffs. And I think that the Wild need to take some of that from the Frost here. Speaking of which, the Frost are 11. They're 11-3-3-6 on the year for 42 points. They're third in the PWHL. They're number one in goals for per game with 69. They are second place has 59, so they're 10 goals clear of second place on the season. As for goals against, they have 49 goals against, which is third in the PWHL. Their power play is sitting at 20%. That's third. Their penalty kill is up to 81.3%. That's tied for fifth. Again, they also only played one game this last year, which they lost 4-2 to the Boston Fleet. Again, that is Boston is the first team with that win over the Frost. They're the first team to have clinched a playoff spot, and Boston looks like they're going to be the number one team in the regular season, number one seed going into the playoffs here. So the Frost are, again, they look like they're going to be in there. It's them in Montreal battling for the 2 seed, and then the 4 seed is there's a couple teams battling, but the 4 seed is a good chunk behind the Frost right now in the standings. If we look ahead here at this point, they are going to New York tonight as I am recording this on Wednesday, April 1st at 6 p.m. Central Time. They then play against Vancouver at 1 p.m. on Saturday, April 4th. Play the Golden Eyes. They did make a trade with New York. New York does receive Denise Krezova, and Minnesota receives Jincy Royce. So they make a player swap here right before the trade deadline that happened this last week, and they are again just ramping up for the playoffs here. So again, this is second place in the PWHL is important, not just for home field or home ice advantage in the playoffs, but first place gets to pick which of the bottom 2 seeds that they want to play, and then the 2 seed plays the other one. So if you are the 2 seed, you get to play. You get to play whoever the 1 seed doesn't play, and you will get home ice advantage as well. So that might be a little bit of a but Could be said too that if you are the 3 or 4 seed and the 1 seed wants to play, it could give you some extra motivation of hey, they chose to play us. They didn't think we were as good. Let's use that as motivation. So if the Frost are a 3 or 4 seed and they do get chosen by likely Boston, who's going to be the 1 seed, if they do get chosen by the 1 seed to be played in the first round, then they should absolutely use that as motivation going forward. But yeah, for predictions, had 3 come off the board here. I said the Frost beat Boston on Sunday. They did not. I said the Wild beat Boston and Vancouver. They obviously lost to Boston, so this one is incorrect. And then I said a Minnesota team wins the NCAA men's hockey tournament. The Frozen Four is happening this weekend, but no Minnesota team is in it. So this one is incorrect. 3 predictions coming on the board here. We'll have 2 regular season ones and then 1 that can, I guess, technically go to next year with the way I worded it. But the first prediction here is that Jesper Wallstedt records the next Wild shutout. So whenever that next Wild shutout is, the Jesper Wallstedt will be the one in net for the Wild. I said Kirill hits 90-plus points this season. I believe he's sitting at 81 right now, I think. So he needs 9 in the last roughly 8 or 9 games of the season. Matt Boldy hits 42-plus goals this season. Again, 8 or 9 games left. He's sitting at 38 goals, so he needs 4 goals the rest of the way to hit 42 or more. All right, moving on now to the final team segment of today's episode, the Target Field Talkers, where the Twins have started off their season 1-3. They are 4th place in the American League Central Division. They are 9th place in the wild card. The team is hitting 200 on the season. They are getting on base at a .297 rate. Their slugging percentage is .328. Their on-base plus slugging comes out to .625. They've scored 12 runs on the season. They've hit 3 home runs. They've walked 16 times, and they have struck out 37 times. They have stolen 3 bases on the year. On the pitching side of it, the team ERA is 3.82. Their WHIP is 1.36, which is walks plus hits per innings pitch, which is basically just how many base runners are the pitcher's fault per inning pitched. The strikeouts are 36. The pitchers have 36 strikeouts to 16 walks. They have 1 error on the season. The fielders do. Not just the pitchers, the fielders as a whole have 1 error, and that is a .992 fielding percentage. They did lose 2 out of 3 in Baltimore. The game 1 we talked about a little bit last week. They lost 2-1. I thought Joe Ryan pitched actually pretty well, especially for his first outing. 5 1/3 innings pitched. He had 1 hit, 0 runs, 2 walks, 7 Ks, and 85 pitches. Again, very, very good day out of Joe Ryan. It was a couple of bullpen arms that gave up a couple of runs. But even still, I'm not like the big story of this game was just the hitting side of it, the lack of hitting. And the pitching I thought was phenomenal in that game, in the game 1 of 162. But again, we talked about Royce last week. He was batting 8th in the lineup, batted 8th in the lineup in all 3 games against the Orioles. He was pinch hit for in the 9th inning. In game 1, Trevor Larnach pinch hit for him. In game 2, the Twins ended up winning 4-1. Taj Bradley went 4 1/3 innings pitched. He had three hits, gave up 3 hits on or 1 earned run on 3 hits. He walked 3 batters and struck out 9. Again, I think this is a fantastic outing by Taj Bradley too. Like for these guys' first out. Again, it might be a little bit shorter if this was a little bit short if this was an August start, but everything else you would 100% take the stat lines for these two starting pitchers in any time in the season. If that was their stat line through 4 1/3 and 5 1/3 through in a start and literally any point in this season, you would 100% be like, okay, these guys are clicking well. The bullpen came in and shut the door on the Orioles too. After that, Taj Bradley gave up the only run of the game that Baltimore scored. So again, all off season, I said I was I was worried most about the pitching staff, and my worries about the pitching staff kind of came to fruition here in Game 3, where they lost 8-6. Bailey Ober pitched 4 innings. He gave up 4 hits, 3 earned runs, a walk, and a strikeout. Again, he pitched fine, I guess. Again, 3 earned runs in 4 innings is a little bit worrisome on that part. If it was 3 in like 5 or 6 innings, I'd be like, okay, that's a perfectly average start. So again, still early in the season. Again, a lot better of a first start for Bailey Ober than he's had over the last couple seasons, where I think last year's first start, he gave up like 8 runs in 2 1/3 innings. And the year before that, he gave up like 9 and like 1 1/3 innings pitched, or so. It was something insane like that, where after his first start last year was like a 54 ERA. The year before that was like a 72 ERA or something crazy like that. But then Mick Abel came in for the next 3 1/3 innings pitched. You, again, will not be pitching in relief, but because of off days built in with it just being the start of the season, they decided to not have him start and have him be used in relief a little bit here. He pitched 3 1/3 innings in Game 3 in Baltimore, gave up 8 hits, 5 earned runs, walked 4, struck out 4. I don't think Mick Abel is a good reliever. I think he needs to be starting. I think we've seen some of his stuff. Again, he was made a couple appearances last year out of the bullpen and didn't do too well. But I think that he needs to be a starter. I think he is going to be a very reliable and good starter here at the MLB level, especially what we saw in spring training and some of his minor league starts over the last few seasons. I think he got traded here last year. I believe it was in the Duran trade. It was either Duran or Bader trade. He came here, but he came here from Philadelphia. So I think he is going to be a solid, possibly number 3 pitcher in this. Again, if Taj Bradley can be this good, Mick Abel being this, like he's going to be the 4 or 5 star starter at this point. So again, just may have him start. Just don't make him wait to pitch until the 5th inning and just have him start the game right away. The Twins then went to Kansas City, played a game on Monday, then off day yesterday. They play again tonight, again, as I'm recording this. They have a 3-game series in Kansas City. They did drop the first game 3-1. We'll get more into that one in the next episode. They play Kansas City from March 30th to April 2nd. They then host Tampa Bay in a 3-game weekend series from Friday the 3rd to Sunday the 5th, and then a 4-game series against the Detroit Tigers at Target Field from Monday the 6th to Thursday the 9th. And so the lineup, again, we brought this up last week. Lineup is weird. I don't like this, the way this starting lineup is. And you've got, like, obviously I was saying that I thought Austin Martin shouldn't be leading off last week, but also there's Victor Carantini batting ahead of Royce Lewis. And I don't think that Victor Carantini, like, I would rather have Austin Martin leading off than Victor Carantini batting ahead of Royce Lewis. And I think that Royce needs to be, again, he needs to get reps. You need to know what you're getting out of Royce Lewis and what he, his self right now is going to look like. And, he's got 2 hits on the year in 12 at bats. He's hitting 167, but he's got 2 home runs. His 2 hits are both home runs. He's got 3 RBIs on the year. He's got 3 runs scored because he's gotten hit by a pitch and walked each of those once apiece. And when he, got hit by a pitch or walked, I can't remember which one it was, but he stole a base. And it's great that the Twins are allowing their runners to try and swipe bags more. They need to do that if they want any chance at even contending for the playoffs, which, again, we'll get to this survey that The Athletic did here shortly. But you got to empower Royce more here. Like, you absolutely have to empower him at this point in his career. You got to give him the opportunity to be the 2023 version of Royce Lewis that I think all Twins fans fell in love with. And you have to let him have the opportunity to be that guy and to be that, again, as I deemed it about a month and a half ago, swaggy Royce Lewis. You have to let him be swaggy Royce Lewis. And swaggy Royce Lewis is, again, assuming he can stay on the field and is healthy, I think he's arguably one of the best players in the league. I think he's arguably one of the most underrated players in the league if he can stay healthy and stay swaggy Royce Lewis. So I think that he just needs to have those opportunities and he's going to have more opportunities to do that. The higher in the lineup he hits. And this is my question for the Twins coaching staff, for Derek Shelton, who's setting the lineup card in the front office. What can go wrong that's not going wrong right now if you bat Royce Lewis higher up in the lineup? How much worse can it get if Royce Lewis is batting higher in the lineup? Versus what can go right if he's batting higher in the lineup. I think it could get there's a way higher ceiling if he's batting higher in the lineup than there is a lower floor than what it is right now. And that's a chance I'm willing to take for Royce to return to that 2023 form. So I don't understand the lineup card here from the coaching staff and the manager. Again, it's frustrating. Like right now, Royce is, for this team to have success, if this team is going to make the playoffs, let's say you make the Twins make the playoffs at the end of the year, and we're doing a end of the season list of who the most important pitchers were and who the most important hitters were. If I think the most important, as in like the biggest reasons for their success and the biggest reasons they made the playoffs this season, I think number 1 hitter would probably end up being Byron Buxton. I think he is will contribute to the success of this team the most on the hitting side of it. But I think Royce Lewis would probably be second behind Byron Buxton. So why would you bury him? And why would you not give him the opportunity? Like, it's like the Vikings, like, week one going out and starting JJ McCarthy, and he throws for 4 touchdowns and 300 yards in a season, or in the first game. And then the second game they start Kyler because he looked better in practice, and the analytics say that Kyler's going to be better. It's like, well, why not? And I understand it more in football because it's less games, but why not roll with the hot hand of JJ McCarthy? Why not roll with the hot hand of Royce Lewis? And why not give him the opportunity to get hot and to do, perform up to what we, remember him performing in that 2023 season. I don't understand this team. Seems like a lot of people agree with me. If we look at this survey that The Athletic did, they called it the Hopometer. They said that 11,000 fans were surveyed about if they're optimistic about the 2026 season. And they premised this too with just relative to your team. Are you optimistic? It doesn't need to be Chicago. What they said, Chicago White Sox. Are you guys optimistic about winning the World Series? That's not the question they're asking the Chicago White Sox. But that's why the White Sox were right next to the New York Yankees in optimism. Do I think the White Sox if you were to rank the odds that each team was going to win the World Series, do I think the White Sox are one team behind the New York Yankees? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But are you optimistic about this season? We're basically just meaning that they're going to take another step forward, or if they're a contender, that they could win the World Series. That's basically the two premises that you could go with here on are you optimistic? So without a doubt, the Los Angeles Dodgers were the number one team in the league. Their fans that were surveyed were 99.8% optimistic about the 2026 season. Kind of want to talk to the 0.2% that were pessimistic about the 2026 season. Again, maybe the 0.2% is just, I don't think we're going to win the World Series this year, so I'm pessimistic about it. Maybe that's what it is, which I hope that's what because that's in my mind, the only train of thought to be pessimistic about this team, this Dodgers team. But on the opposite end, literally the complete opposite end of the ranking, team number 30 were the Minnesota Twins. 4.3% optimistic, 95.7% pessimistic. If you're in that ownership group, if you are a Pohlad, and you see this list, or you see this optimism and pessimism, this has to be an absolute wake-up call, slap in the face for you. Yes, it was an absolute mistake, and Tom Pohlad acknowledged that in an interview. It was an absolute mistake to not invest in the 2023 team. And fans are showing you why. I am actually extremely excited for the Twins home opener on Friday against Tampa, was it? Yeah, Tampa Bay. Not because of the game. I don't care about the games anymore. I am the most excited to see what the attendance looks like in the home opener. That's what I'm excited for. I want to see if like there's reports that there's people that have been season ticket holders for 30, 40 years that didn't renew their season tickets this year because they didn't like the direction of where this team was going. And they didn't like the ownership group. That should absolutely be a wake-up call for this front office. That should be you need to invest in this. Yes, it might be, you might have been, can look at it, and I think Tom Pohlad did say hindsight is 2020, or it wasn't really 2020. Hindsight, it in the moment, it's 2020. You should have invested in the team. But like, it might be too late to go back and invest in the team now at this point. But you can do that now. You know, you can't go back to 2023 and invest in that team. You can invest in the 2026 team and the 2027 team if we actually see baseball games in 2027 and in the 2028 team. If you are still owning the team, if the Pohlads still own the team, start making corrections right now. I doubt there are any Pohlads actually watching this video right now. But if there are, you need to absolutely need to start investing more in this team right now. Don't wait until next week. Do it right now. April 1st, 2026. We might think it's an April Fool's Day joke, but it's not. It shouldn't be. I think the April Fool's Day joke should be, is from November 2023 until today. That should be the April Fool's Day prank. You should say, we are now going to invest in this team. We are going to actually start to care. Because from where I'm sitting, I'm sitting up in section 301, and it does not seem like you actually care about this team. I think the players care. I think as much as the fans like don't want to show it right now, I think the fans care about the team. I just don't think they care about your family. I think they're upset because they care about the team. That's why fans are upset. It's because they actually care a lot about this team. And this is, of the 4 major men's teams here in the Twin Cities, in the state of Minnesota, this is the only one that has actually produced a championship. And they've produced 2, but the other 3 have 0. The next door neighbors at Target Center, the Wolves, haven't even been to the finals. Across the river in St. Paul, the Wild haven't been out of the first round in 10 years. The Vikings, they've won, one playoff game since the Minneapolis Miracle? They've won 2 playoff games since Brett Favre came here. The Miracle and then against the Saints with Kirk. They're selling out all of those games because the owners seemingly do care. And they are actually trying to make moves to win. Again, this is a completely different discussion. If the Pohlads tried and to go out and sign players and they just weren't working. It didn't line up. Like, if the front office was going out and spending money, but the acquisitions just didn't work, this is a completely different. That is a conversation I would way rather have than this one right here. Look at, again, Craig Leopold is a minority owner of the Twins. He was one of the minority owners that was brought on last year, and technically this last offseason. He cares about the Wild. He was like, let's go get Parisi and Suter. Now, it didn't end up working. They only got out of the first round twice with those 2 teams, and they never made it to the 3rd round. But he was like, let's try to go for it. Let's go get Quinn Hughes this year. The Twins, their deadline moves this last year were just blowing up the team, which they made a lot of moves this last year. The year before, they made 1. You had a 95% chance of making the playoffs at the trade deadline at that point. And you made 1 move. And the guy was in the minors 3 weeks later. And you finally snapped the playoff losing streak. There was 40,000 people in that stadium for those playoff games. There were people at the stadium when they were playing in Houston watching the game on the Jumbotron. There was people at Target Field. People want to be excited about this team. 2023 proved that. 2023 absolutely proved that people want to be excited about this team. But the Pohlads, again, if you are watching this, the Pohlads, you have not given fans a reason to be excited about this team. That is what this athletic survey showed. Again, 4.3% are optimistic about this team. 4.3% of fans are optimistic. And I think those 4.3% of fans that are optimistic, they're not optimistic that they're going to win a World Series this year. How can you be? I don't think you're anywhere close to winning a World Series. I think 4.3 is optimistic that they might make the playoffs. So Pohlads, just please act like you care. Even if you don't, just try and act like it. Try and act like it. It's the last thing I'll say about this. We'll move on to my predictions here. Ones that have come off the board. I had 5 come off the board this week. I said that the first Twins home run will be hit by an outfielder. It's hit by Royce Lewis. So the Twins lose 4+ games before winning their first. They were 1-1, so they won their second game of the season. Said Joe Ryan and/or Pablo Lopez will not be on the 2026 Twins opening day 26-man roster. Pablo Lopez was injured. The spirit of this prediction was more of, I think one of them will be traded, but I kind of backdoored my way into this, and Pablo was technically not on the 26-man opening day roster. So the Twins lose the opening series. That one was correct. And I said Royce Lewis hits a home run in the first week of the season. He had a couple in the first week of the season. That brings it up to 37 out of 120 total predicted for 31%. 3 coming on the board here. I said Royce is the first Twins hitter to 5 home runs in 2026. I said Luke Keeschall hits his first home run of the season before the Tigers come to town. And then Joe Ryan will get the win, will record the win in his next start. So if the Twins win, but Joe doesn't get credit for it, then this one is incorrect. All right, now moving on to the power ranking segment. The final segment of today's episode. We do the power ranking segment every single episode right at the end. The other segments might change order, but this one does not. This one will always be the final segment of each episode. Power rankings, for those of you who don't know, is something that we do where we take a Minnesota sports topic and I will rank that from 1 to 10. In my opinion, we have done in the past the best high school hockey tournament games, the toughest athletes, iconic stadium food, and the best high school hockey teams in the state of Minnesota. Today, we are doing the top 10 best signings in Minnesota sports history. So they have to be free agents and sign with. I am not doing trades where they just re-sign. They have to have been or draft picks that re-sign. These are free agent signings. I think we've done best draft picks in the past, but this is the best signings. If we haven't done best draft picks, that'll be another one up here. I got to go back through my list and just see. But the best free agent signings in Minnesota sports history. Number 10, we start on the with the Wolves. Number 10 is Sam Mitchell. Number 9, another wingman here. Number 9 is Mats Zuccarello. I think he really, again, the biggest contributor here for me for Zuccarello is that the fact that he helped unlock Kirill Kaprizov. At number 8, we have Pat Williams comes in here at number 8, part of the Williams wall with Kevin, and they were just a massive part of that defense. At number 7 here, we've got Nelson Cruz coming in at number 7. Again, a massive piece of that Bomba squad team, was a massive leader in the clubhouse too. But again, another big piece as well was he was part of the trade that brought Joe Ryan to Minnesota too. So that does factor in here and get him up to number 7. Number 6, again, fantastic 1 year here. He had 2 years here, but one of them was absolutely fantastic, and that 1 year is really carrying him up to number 6. And again, I will say, before I reveal this, we're not looking at their entire career, just their career with their Minnesota team. So that is why number 6 is low. He probably is the number 1 player on this list, but with Minnesota, he was not the number 1, the number 1 slot here. So number 6 is Brett Favre. Again, he almost took him to the Super Bowl. So just that fact, again, he had a terrible 2010 season, so I couldn't rank him any higher. Didn't end up, winning the Super Bowl that year. If he had, he probably would be the number 1 option here, and the number one athlete here has a similar story to that if Brett Favre had worked out. Number 5 is basically number 4B, but number 5 here, because these two are basically attached at the hip in terms of their Minnesota career. But number 5 is Ryan Suter. Again, we'll talk about 4 and 5 together. So we'll get number 4 up here is Zach Parise. So these are the top 2, or the number 4 and number 5. The top 2, I think, wild free agent signings that they have made. Again, just brought people back, brought the Wild back to being at the very least, perennial playoff contenders. And now they're at the point where they should be an actual cup contender here for at least the next few years. Number 3 is in the Hall of Fame now. The Vikings signed him. Number 3 is Steve Hutchinson, and just an amazing offensive lineman here for the Vikings. Number 2 is Antoine Winfield Sr., and not Junior. Junior's with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but Antoine Winfield Sr. with the Minnesota Vikings. And number 1 said he was like Brett Favre if Favre had won the World Series, or not won the World Series. That should give you a hint here. Won the Super Bowl. But number 1, helping the Twins win the 1991 World Series. Number 1 best signing in Minnesota sports. He was here only the 1 year, but Jack Morris, again, helping the Twins win the World Series in 1991. All right, before we do our normal outro stuff here, I do want to take just a minute here and you maybe clicked on this because of the title of this video, and I do want to say that yes, this is the last episode of the 301 show. So I want to thank everyone that watched all of these videos and watched the interviews too, and I hope you all have a very happy April 1st here today. So thank you for watching episode 61 of the 301 show. Please leave a like, comment down below where you agree or disagree with me, and then subscribe to the channel as well. We'll see you next time, if there is a next time. Peace.